Slow learners are deep thinkers. Lydia's English method. You think you are slow, but maybe you are just learning the way geniuses do. You open your English book. 10 minutes later, your mind is already somewhere else. The page is open, the words are clear, yet your thoughts are floating far away. I know that feeling. I have been there too. I am Lydia, and this is Learn English Listening. Here we learn English through real stories, slow rhythm, and heart. You might be sitting at your desk right now, wondering why you need so much time to understand what others seem to get in a second. You might feel that no matter how long you study, you keep forgetting. But what if your brain is not slow? What if it is simply deep? When I started learning English, I was always the slowest in the class. I listened longer. I wrote slower. I answered last. But I began to notice something. Weeks later, when others had already forgotten, I still remembered. My slow pace became my quiet power. I started to understand that speed was never the goal. Depth was. I began to notice small patterns in the language that others skipped. I could see connections between words, sounds, and ideas. That was when I realized that slow learning was not a problem. It was my gift. And when I looked back, I could see how every slow step had built something unshakable in me. Slow learners do not rush through meaning. They breathe it in. They take the time to make it theirs. Which city are you joining us from, and what time is it right now? I love knowing where my listeners are learning from, because no matter where you are, this story might be yours too. If you have ever felt left behind, stay with me. Because slow does not mean weak. It means deep. It means careful. It means you are building something real. It means you are learning in a way that will last. I remember studying in a library in Seoul. The room was silent, except for the sound of turning pages. Everyone read fast. They moved their highlighters quickly across the lines. I sat there repeating one sentence again and again. I thought I was broken. It felt like pouring water into a bucket full of holes. I spent hours learning vocabulary, but the next morning it was gone. I listened to native speakers and tried to catch every word, but they slipped away like sand through my fingers. There were nights I stayed up late, forcing myself to study more, thinking that more time would fix it, but it never did. The more I pushed, the more I felt lost. Then one day, I realized something simple. My brain was not lazy. It was just working differently. It was building meaning one layer at a time. I started to notice that when I reviewed my lessons slowly, I remembered them better. When I took breaks, I understood more. When I explained ideas to myself, I felt less stress. Slowly, the chaos inside my head turned into small steps of progress. I began to see that every learner has a different rhythm, and mine was simply slower but steadier. Slow learners are not weak. They are builders. They take time to make sure every brick fits before they move on. Fast learners build high. Slow learners build strong. And the truth is, a strong foundation always lasts longer than a quick start. Have you ever studied for hours and felt like nothing stayed? Tell me in the comments. I read every story. Because I know you are not alone. The truth is, learning is not a race. It is a rhythm. And when you find your rhythm, everything changes. You start to see that your so-called weakness is actually your superpower. You are not behind. You are simply learning in a deeper way than most people ever do. Fast learners are photographers. Slow learners are painters. One captures light. The other creates depth. When you take a quick photo, the image looks sharp, but it fades in memory. When you paint, you move slowly. You feel every color, and the picture stays in your soul. That is the power of slow learning. It gives your brain time to connect, to imagine, to make knowledge your own. In English, we have a phrase, to sink in. It means to let something go deep inside your mind until it becomes part of you. When I stopped cramming and started giving my brain space, everything began to sink in. I realized that I remembered not just the words, but also the feelings behind them. Another phrase is to go the extra mile. It means to give a little more effort than expected. Slow learners often go the extra mile without realizing it. They repeat lessons. They rewrite notes. They listen again. That is not weakness. That is dedication. And then there is a third phrase, in the long run. It means after a long time, when the results finally show. In the long run, slow learners remember more. They speak more naturally. They understand not only the words, but the meaning behind them. Hide this right now. Close your eyes and repeat one English word 3 times. Slowly. Feel that quiet moment after the last sound. That silence is where memory grows. The next time you study, take a short pause after each sentence. Let it sink in. That pause is not wasted time. It is your brain building roots. If you are still watching, you are one of the deep learners, the ones who go slow but go far. Maybe you are not slow at all. Maybe you are exactly where deep understanding begins. Remember this every time you doubt yourself. Your slow steps are still steps forward. There was a night when I finally stopped studying. I closed my books and sat in silence. For the first time, I heard myself learning. It was quiet, but it was real. I realized I did not need to fight my own rhythm. I only needed to trust it. The next day, I tried something new. Instead of memorizing words, I started explaining them to my friend. As I spoke, I felt every word come alive. It was as if my mind had been waiting for this moment. I understood what teachers mean when they say, "To teach is to learn twice." When you teach something, you do not just repeat it, you rebuild it from the inside out. That was my light bulb moment, the instant when everything made sense. I understood that slow learning was not about delay. It was about depth. It was not about memorizing more. It was about connecting better. I started to read English aloud and record myself. Then I listened back, slowly catching each sound. I noticed how my pronunciation improved just because I gave myself time. That is what it means to listen deeply. When I shared my notes with others, they said my explanations were the clearest they had ever heard. That was when I knew my pace was not a weakness, it was wisdom. So if you ever feel stuck, stop counting hours. Start listening to how your mind moves. Maybe your mind does not sprint, maybe it walks. But it walks with purpose. If tomorrow gave you a fresh start, what small change would you make in the way you study? Would you slow down a little? Would you breathe between words? Would you trust that silence is part of learning, too? Because maybe the slow path is not the wrong one. It is just the one that takes you home. Learning is like planting a tree. You cannot shout at the seed to grow faster. You water it. You wait. You trust. Every time you repeat a word, your brain grows another branch. Every time you listen again, your roots go deeper. There is no shame in patience. The strongest trees are the ones that grow slowly through seasons of sun and rain. I want you to think about this. When you rush, you remember for a test. When you go slow, you remember for life. The world may celebrate speed, but your quiet persistence will carry you farther than you imagine. I remember a friend who studied quickly and passed exams. Months later, she forgot most of what she learned. But I, the slow learner, still remembered every phrase. That is the hidden reward of patience. So take your time. Enjoy it. Whisper the words, feel them, because every small effort is a seed. And one day, that seed will bloom into confidence. Your pace is not your problem. Your patience is your power. Your calm focus will always take you further than panic ever could. The world rewards results, but life rewards consistency. Keep showing up. Keep watering your own growth, even when no one is watching. One day, everything you planted will stand tall. At this moment, you stand between comparison and confidence. Which one will you choose? You can keep comparing your progress to others, or you can choose to walk your own slow and steady road. The choice is yours. You can keep chasing speed, or you can choose to build strength. If this message made you feel lighter, share it with someone who thinks they are slow. You might just save their confidence today, and write this in the comments. I am not slow. I am deep. Let us see how many deep learners are here in our community. Because here on Learn English Listening, we do not chase speed. We build strength. We learn with stories, rhythm, and heart. This is Lydia. Thank you for walking this journey with me. Keep learning slowly. Keep learning deeply. Keep believing that your way, no matter how slow, is still the right way forward. And when you look back one day, you will see that every small step was leading you exactly where you were meant to be.